Across air, sea, and cyberspace, something vast had begun. An operation hidden in shadow, unfolding with precision.
It was the most expensive, the most precise, and the most powerful strike ever launched in a single night in modern warfare.
No country announced it. No one admitted to it. Yet the signs appeared, one after another, leaving little doubt. A war had opened, not with speeches, but with strikes. And as the pieces fell into place, the world found itself asking what came next and who truly held control. It started in silence, a silence so deep it felt planned. Then came movement, fast and unrelenting, as if the future itself had been waiting for this moment to reveal its hand. The first wave did not roar into being. It came like a shadow spilling across the land, moving with a weight that was almost invisible, yet impossible to resist. In the hours before dawn, the skies above the Middle East carried no signals of warning. There were no broadcasts, no sirens, not even the faint pulse of anticipation. There was only stillness. Yet hidden inside that stillness, every preparation had already reached its final moment. The assault did not announce itself. There were no declarations, no loud speeches. Missiles slid from their tubes with mechanical certainty. Engines lit in hidden corners of the earth, their sound swallowed by distance and secrecy. Deep inside servers, strings of code woke to life, carrying strikes not of flame, but of silence. These were attacks meant to erase, not to burn. From the sea, from concealed desert bases, from distant airfields masked by night, the operation unfolded like a single breath being released after years of holding it back. For the people below, nothing was clear. Street lamps flickered, televisions died, and phones became nothing but glass and metal. News failed to arrive. Signals vanished. The world seemed to fold inward, cutting them off without explanation. To them, it felt like reality itself had chosen to stop speaking. But to those who orchestrated it, there was nothing mysterious. It was an execution. This was a plan built in silence, calculated over years, rehearsed to the second, and unleashed all at once with the cold precision of a clock striking midnight. Far away from the first strikes, another sign of intent was already moving. From Guam, 6 B-2 Spirit bombers lifted into the night sky. Their black wings sliced through the dark without a sound, built to remain ghosts even as they carried heavy loads of destruction. For decades, these aircraft had been symbols of hidden power, rarely seen in numbers. Their sudden deployment now told a story of escalation. The choice of Guam was deliberate. The island's hardened shelters had been designed for these aircraft alone, with defenses strong enough to protect them before they ever left the ground. The bombers launched heavily, each one carrying its full burden. Moments after takeoff, refueling aircraft joined them mid-air, extending their reach and ensuring every weapon could be carried forward. This was no routine patrol. This was a statement, sharp and unmistakable. The B-2 could fly high above sight, remain invisible to radar, and deliver blows designed to shatter even the strongest shelters. Their mission was urgent, their path was exact, and with every mile they closed, the gap between intent and impact grew thinner, more fragile, more certain. Beneath the mountains of Iran lay one of its most guarded secrets. The Fordo nuclear site had been carved deep into the earth, shielded by hundreds of feet of rock and reinforced walls. For years, it was believed to be untouchable, a place safe from any conventional strike. That belief ended in a single night. The B-2s carried a weapon built for this very purpose. The GBU-57, known as the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, was no ordinary bomb. It weighed more than 13 tons and was designed to pierce layers of concrete before detonating. Few weapons in the world could promise such destruction. When the bombs fell, the silence of Fordo was broken. Shockwaves tore through the hidden chambers, the kind of force only possible from weapons made for breaking the unbreakable. What had been Iran's symbol of survival was shaken to its core. Fordo was no longer untouchable. It stood as proof that even the deepest shelters could be reached. While the bombers struck from above, another wave rose from the sea. Hidden beneath dark waters, U.S. submarines released their payload. Dozens of Tomahawk cruise missiles surged forward, gliding low to the ground, fast and nearly invisible to radar. Their targets were not random. They were the beating heart of Iran's nuclear program. Natanz and Isfahan, two names long tied to uranium enrichment, were chosen. The missiles flew with accuracy measured in meters, weaving past defenses, reaching places thought safe. Explosions followed, sudden and precise, tearing into research halls and storage centers. What made this strike different was not only the damage, but the timing. The missiles arrived almost in sync with the bombs dropped from the skies. It was a web of fire, air, and sea striking as one. Defenders had no room to react. In a single coordinated act, walls that had taken years to build were reduced to debris. The message was unmistakable. Nothing was beyond reach. As the dust settled over Iran, another scene unfolded thousands of miles away. In Washington, the lights of the Situation Room glowed through the night. Inside, the president sat at the center of his circle of advisors, eyes fixed on live feeds streaming across the screens. Every strike, every detonation appeared in real time. Only hours later, the announcement came. The president stepped before the cameras, his words sharp and deliberate. He declared the operation a success, describing it as a decisive blow against Iran's nuclear ambitions. The message was aimed outward as much as inward. It was meant to reassure allies, warn adversaries, and remind the public that American power could be unleashed without hesitation. The release of photographs told its own story. Images of calm faces, men and women watching the assault unfold, carried weight beyond words. It was not only about the strikes themselves, but about control of the moment, and of the narrative. Even as American aircraft returned to base, another front began to move. Israel had prepared its own plan, one that reached far beyond bombs and missiles. They called it Rising Lion, and when it was set in motion, the battlefield stretched from the skies to the screens inside every home. Fighter jets cut across Iranian airspace, striking weapons factories, drone hangars, and radar sites. Explosions followed one after another, each removing a layer of defense. But the airstrikes were only one part of the assault. At the same time, Israeli cyber units slipped into networks that powered daily life. Banks froze. Power grids failed. Internet access flickered, then disappeared altogether. The attack struck both steel and spirit. It was designed not only to damage weapons, but to erode confidence in the very systems that kept the country alive. For every blast in the distance, there was a moment of silence at home, when lights went out and citizens realized their government could no longer protect them. Among the many strikes, one target stood apart. Deep inside Iran, the IR-40 reactor at Arak had long been a subject of debate. Official statements claimed it had been shut down, frozen under international agreements. Yet satellite images and intelligence suggested otherwise. The facility still breathed, its potential still dangerous. Israel chose not to leave it untouched. Precision bombs tore through the protective dome that shielded the reactor. Moments later, plumes of steam rose into the air, visible even from space. The images confirmed what many had feared. The site had been active, a hidden path to weapons-grade plutonium. This was more than a tactical strike. It was a denial of shortcuts, a refusal to let the program continue in secret. For Iran, the damage meant years of delay. For the world, it was proof that no shadow project would remain hidden forever. The message was heavy, carried in the smoke that drifted above the ruins. One of the most striking blows came without a single detonation. Across Iran, television channels flickered and changed. Instead of official broadcasts, images of protests filled the screens. The words "Rising Lion" pulsed over the footage. a direct challenge to the regime's voice. For hours, citizens watched their own networks turned against them until the signal was cut. But the damage lingered, the sense that control had slipped away. Then, daily life itself began to collapse. Electricity failed across major cities. Hospitals struggled in the dark, shops closed, and ATMs froze with no cash to give. Digital payments disappeared, leaving families stranded in a world suddenly without its systems. The country felt thrown backward in time, pulled from the modern age in a single night. Fear spreads faster than news, carried by silence. While people stumbled in darkness, the Pentagon tightened its hold. Bombers shifted closer, carriers moved into range, and the E-4B doomsday plane rose into the skies. Every move deepened the pressure, reminding Iran that this was only the beginning. Iran's reply came, but it carried little weight. Missiles and drones lifted into the night, only to be shattered mid-air by Israel. The strikes had ended, but the silence remained. Cities in darkness, skies heavy with aircraft, seas crowded with warships. Each image told the story of a world holding its breath. What began as a hidden assault had opened into a question no one could escape. Would the fire spread, or would it fade into uneasy talks? No leader had given the final word, yet every nation waited for it. The moment felt fragile, as if one spark could decide everything. For now, the world watches, uncertain, suspended between the hope of peace and the shadow of war.